Well, wrapping up fall sports here at This Week in High School Sports. And Steve, welcome.
Teresa, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. And you may notice that Steve is operating on less than 100% of his voice. So he has been here anyway because he's such a trooper and has done a fantastic job with the interviews we have in store for you. But before we get started, I'm going to do a little talking first and give his voice
I'm okay with that.
We want to recognize our sponsor, Red Onion Burgers, as always, and remind you, and we've talked about this last week, they're having their Tip-A-Cop and First Responders fundraiser this Friday, November 16th at Red Onion Burgers in Mountlake Terrace. And Steve, I got an update from Sean Richards this morning about what is in store this Friday. They're actually going to have 2 live auctions, one at 12:30 p.m. that is, and one at 6:30 p.m. And that is going to involve a trip to Las Vegas, a trip to Mexico, signed celebrity guitars, Seahawks items, and more. So if you want to get to Red Onion Burgers anytime, they're going to be actually doing this event all day from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Friday, November 16th. First responders, police officers, firefighters are going to be there actually serving you, and you tip them. That's hence the name Tip-A-Cop. All of the tips will be donated, and 20% of the sales all that day are going to be donated to something that Red Onion Burgers Cheeseburger Babies Foundation, which is the charitable arm, does every year, and that is called Shop with a Cop, which basically you go, they bring kids in who are in need, and they help them shop for holiday gifts for their family. So great cause. Be sure to get there. Red Onion Burgers located at 21005 44th Avenue West. That's the shopping complex there on the corner of 212th and 44th. Wow, I did all the talking.
Nicely done. And I can't wait to be a part of that event on Friday. And Sean's asked me to help out with some of that. And I promise that the voice should be better and ready to go on Friday for that event. And what a wonderful cause every year that Sean does. I mean,
he's been doing this for many years. Yeah, thank you, Sean, for all you do. All right, so we are going to go right into football, yes?
Let's talk a little football. Football season ended last week. However, we thought it was important to bring these guys in. The Edmonds-Woodway Warriors, again, a team that started off the season losing their first 4 games, settled back down a little bit, figured things out, and won 4 of their last 6. So I thought it was important to at least have a conversation with them about how things transformed during the season, how they were able to overcome quite a few obstacles, and to really turn their season around in what I thought was a very impressive showing. So without further ado, here are 3 of the members of the Edmonds-Woodway Warrior football team. The Edmonds-Woodway Warriors ending their football season last week, didn't quite make the playoffs this year, but ended on a high note, started off the season losing their first 4 games, and then turned it around, winning 4 of their last 6 games. And with us right now, 3 of the members from that Warriors football team. Junior Ben Grimes, who played fullback and inside linebacker for the most part, and played a little guard too. We'll talk about that later on. Jack Kramer plays a lot of defense, safety, outside linebacker, was also the team's punter. And then Patrick Norton, quarterback, right tackle, a little bit strange that you don't hear that very often, and tight end, also was the placeholder on the team.
Yes.
Guys, let's talk about the season a little bit. And Patrick, I'm going to start with you. Rough start to the year. You've been a part of this Edmonds-Woodway culture for a while now. You guys aren't necessarily accustomed to losing. What was the mindset like after that first month of the season?
It was really just to get back out there and keep trying, because Gradwell knows that, if a team goes down, they might just stay down, and I think that's what he was trying to. He just wanted us to keep fighting and keep pushing, and I think just the mentality of just stand your ground and just keep playing, and we'll succeed, and that's what happened. So.
And then Jack, you go out there week number 5, you get a victory over Linwood, another team that's been struggling this year. Mm-hmm. Was it just good to get a win in the win column? Was that more key than anything? Just a lot of times that builds confidence in itself, right?
Yeah, I think that win was really important for us to get the momentum moving, especially because we knew in offensively and defensively that we could really step up our game and execute when we needed to, and it kind of just helped the overall team mentality just get more confidence going into those next few weeks.
And Ben, week number 6, you guys end up losing again, but I would almost argue this might be the key game of the year for you guys. You didn't get a victory, but you went up against Snohomish, a team that ultimately wins Wesco 3A. Yeah. You take them to overtime, and really a controversial play late in the game. You guys probably should have won the game.
Yeah.
Could you make an argument that maybe that was even the biggest game of the season for you guys?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, big, tough, physical team in Snohomish. Perennial top dogs in this conference, always fighting for that championship. We felt like we've been a perennial top dog too here. So we wanted to go out and we wanted to show that we still had something left and we still had something to fight for. So we went out there, like I said, big, tough physical team, but we felt like we held our own. And we fought, and we should have won that game, like you said. But they did a lot of good things. That running back was really good. But it was really good for our season because we saw that we could compete with those type of teams. Because when you get those close games, and even though we lost, I mean, we'd lost 4 times, we'd gotten blown out. So even a close game for us was a minor victory. And so that kind of propelled us and motivated us to finish the season strong.
Patrick, was there a moment in the season where you kind of sensed that there was a momentum shift, that maybe, you know, we're not as bad as the record shows and maybe we can still pull this season out a little bit?
Yeah, so our offense, or just our whole team in general, have been struggling most of the games. And so I think once we finally got that started in like second half of the Meadowdale game, we actually started to feel something like click. And our line was doing great, and then Cap was just running down the field. So, I don't know, it gave us hope for what could happen later in the season.
And then another game I want to focus on here too before we talk more generally. Jack, the Shorewood game. Week number 7, Shorewood had an outstanding season this year.
Yeah.
I was kind of following that game from afar. I was at a different location, but you guys were down at halftime, trailing most of the third quarter. You pull off a 20-17 victory. That's got to speak volumes too right there. I mean, obviously earlier in the season, trailing at halftime meant usually a loss. You guys were able to come back.
Yeah, well, Ben and I going into the locker room knew that they weren't going to score any more points coming out of halftime. We knew that we were going to shut them down because we knew what we could do. We just had to do it. And offensively, they had a slow start for us, but we knew that once Cap got those long runs, that the line would start to pick it up for him. And I think just going into that locker room, nobody's head was down. Everybody was motivated, even though we were down. And we knew that we could pull it out, and overall we got the win. So it was really a good confidence boost going into that halftime, knowing that we can come back and win it.
Looked like a different team after that. Won 48-0 the following week against Everett, then lost a close game to a very good Marysville-Pilchuck team before blowing out Jackson 33-13 to end the season. Before we talk about some of the other guys on the team, I want you guys to tell me a little bit about each other here and what kind of players we have sitting at the table. Ben, I'm going to start with you. Talk about your one of your defensive teammates here, Mr. Jack Kramer, right to your right.
Jack, the captain. I mean, this kid, I just moved here last December. So first day in the weight room, saw this kid working hard. All winter, he was working. Both these guys they set up a lot of 7-on-7s for us, got us a lot of extra work in the off season. Just being a leader for this kid at least. Just being a leader, showing us what it takes because, I mean, he got reps last year and we lost all 11 starting defensive players. So, I mean, just stepping up and taking that leadership role on and showing these kids what it takes to play and never getting his head down and always leading us. I mean, I'm really proud to play with these two.
Jack, we should talk about that. You guys did lose all 11 starters on defense. You're probably one of the few guys that had a lot of reps last year.
Yeah.
What was that like going into the season?
It was tough because we knew that we were going to have to really mold together because all 11 of those guys had played for 4 years together, and we knew that we weren't going to have that same mentality because we got new guys like Ben and sophomores coming up. But Grayson and I, who were the 2 players that really got the most playing time on varsity last year, knew that we were going to have to do something to kind of mold everybody together. And so during those practices and stuff, when we had our defensive team out there, we kind of would just lightly play with them and just kind of get everybody's motivation and confidence up and get everybody to really mold with each other and kind of trust one another to help each other move on during the season and help each other grow with their positions.
Now, we're going to talk a little offensive side of the ball. I know not an area that you play on, but you certainly see these guys enough. Tell me a little bit about Mr. Patrick Norton and what he meant to the team.
He was a huge contributor to the team. He probably didn't have the season that he wanted to, but he never gave up on himself or the team and kept coming out every week, which I was really proud of, especially as a captain. That's something that you want to see out of your players. And for him, it was just every week coming out and battling, trying to get that starting spot back, even if it meant having to play another position like right tackle. And that that momentum and that strong confidence in himself was just huge for the team because everybody saw it and really kind of bounced or took from him and kind of his confidence and put it in their own play.
Patrick, talk about that. You're a quarterback, yet at times you saw time at right tackle.
Yeah.
You don't hear that very often.
So after the first loss, Gradwell pulls a couple kids in his office, which included Ben, and he's like, we just don't have an offensive line that can hold up right now. And so we went down the list and it was like, we put all these people on the list so the team could play offensive line, and he pulled Ben aside and I and said, you're going to have to play offensive line. So I was disappointed because I was like, I don't really want to play offensive line. Like, I've been working really hard to play quarterback, but it's like, if you need me to do it, I'll do it. So the next practice we go in and start playing right tackle, and I thought I was going to just be there to like boost confidence or like help the other guys get better. And then come Friday, they put me in the game starting, and I'm like, oh, all right. And
He's
then
the starter.
yeah, so it was a good time. Football's always fun, but
So how long did that last?
it lasted until Reed Carr got hurt in the Woodville game, so I had to come in and we had to put a different right tackle.
So you had to change numbers, I would assume,
Yeah.
too.
Right on the sideline.
Right on the sideline.
So quarterback to right tackle, back to quarterback, and you end up doing okay there as well. And so now, Patrick, tell me a little bit about one of the other guys that got switched to offensive line, Mr. Ben Grimes here. I know you played a lot of fullback this year, a lot of inside linebacker, and occasionally guard, right?
Yeah, so Ben coming in, I don't know, we didn't really know him, and we were just happy to see like another person that came to workouts every day. And so he was there every day on 7-on-7, really was just like helping the team grow, and I'm glad he's on the team. He's definitely going to be a good building block in the future for the team, especially next year. And he's overall just been a great leader on defense and on offense. He's coaching guys up because he has great football knowledge. And then I was really proud of him when he stepped to play right guard. It was kind of funny because we just kept getting made fun of on the line because we aren't line players. So there's a little camaraderie that we built there.
So you ended up starting at guard for a couple weeks.
Yeah, kind of like Patrick. I mean, I started through that Woodinville game and that Meadowdale game. But, yeah, I mean, it was tough. Coming in, I hadn't played offense in about 6 years. I'd been a defensive guy. But you know what? I said, Coach, if you need me to play, we can play. And I think that speaks a lot to Patrick more than me because I'm just a junior. I have a whole nother year at this thing. But it's Patrick's senior year, and he's been working for 4 years to be that starting quarterback. And for him to take one for the team like that and go to right tackle, I think that's a big testament to him and what he is as a player and a man.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, let's look at some of the other players on this team right now. Jack, why don't you start us off? Talk a little bit about the defense, since that's where you primarily play.
Well, we had some new guys like Ben, and we actually had a senior. Luke Walker was our other inside backer, and he really stepped up for us this year. We knew that we were going to have some trouble at inside backer, and he just came in ready to go, not knowing what he was going to do, but knew he had to step up for us, and he did some great things. And another guy, my other outside linebacker, Grayson LeCompte, he's been playing at outside linebacker for about 3 years, and even though he's not the biggest guy, he's always ready to get in there and give you a hard time no matter where he's lined up at. And some of the defensive players, like Evan Graves, a sophomore, really stepped up for us this year. We had some thinness at corner, and he stepped up for us. And when I moved out to outside linebacker, they moved him at safety, and I think that position for him was better than corner because it really showed who he was and what he could do.
And then Patrick, what about the offense?
Well, obviously, Capaccio Cherry was a big part of our offense, but
Just a little bit of a...
Offense,
yeah, but I don't think our line gets enough credit. They really stepped it up, and once we got things figured out, it was like Cap had to make some of the runs of the first couple of games, but now Cap was just kind of had to break one tackle and he was gone. And I think that really just like boosted our confidence because we were kind of worried on offense about what we could do, like throwing the ball because our pass protection and running the ball. And so once we got that figured out, things started to click and really start moving along. So
Very good. And who are some of the guys on the line that were...
well, we had a couple sophomores on the line, like Chase, our center, who eventually got hurt in like the last game, who had a concussion, which was sad to see. But he really stepped up. And then we had the junior Tony Wu, who's just a big guy, knows what he's doing. He's a really good blocker. And then then we got Josh Brown, who started last year for us, but also at right tackle. So he had to change position to guard. He played guard, and he also did really well. So
these two guys are seniors. Ben, you're a junior.
Yeah.
What does this team look like next year? Can this team compete next year?
I think for sure we can compete. I think this team is returning a lot of youth. I mean, obviously we're losing Cap and a lot of big pieces and leaders on defense. But like they said, I mean, we started 4 sophomores on defense and I think 3 on offense. And we had a lot of juniors playing both ways. So I think we're returning a lot, and I think we're going to turn some heads. And I think we're working hard this offseason, and that's kind of our mentality is just that was the first losing record I think Grad Ball has ever had at Woodway, and we are not okay with that. So we're going to do whatever it takes this offseason to get back to where Woodway needs to be and to make a run.
And I think one of the interesting things about this team, too, I had a conversation with somebody about 4 weeks into the season, and I hadn't talked to Coach Gradwell all year at that point. And I said to them, it's got to be rough on John this year. He's not used to this. And their response to me was, John seems to be doing okay because although they're losing, he really likes this group of guys he's working with right now. He goes, and it's not always the case. Sometimes you get teams that are a little more difficult than others. Patrick, Jack, you guys are the seniors here, so tell me a little bit about that in terms of the team chemistry. It sounds like there was some pretty strong bonding that was on this team this year, right?
Yeah, so I think everyone is just like, most of the problem is you have some dudes with attitude, and we just didn't have that this year. It was like all the guys were just genuinely good guys and people you wanted to be around. So I think having that on the team and having that kind of environment where everyone just wants to see each other succeed really like pushed our team and made our team not ultimately fail in the upcoming season. So it was good to see like all these people working together and wanting the same goal. So.
And I think for the seniors looking at the sophomores too, because this was their first time on varsity, and we had been on varsity for 3 years for most of us, and we knew what to expect. And so for them, it was really crucial that we help them out and show them and kind of guide the way for them to ultimately have a season that they wanted. And while it may not have been the best season, I think the juniors and sophomores learned a lot from us and kind of can take that into next year.
And as far as the coaches, what was their role in all of this?
They were really critical. Even at 0-4, they never gave up on us. Gradwell and our defensive coach, Coach Wood, they came in every day ready to go, put in a new game plan each week and prepped. And even if they felt like we weren't going to have the best time, they never gave up on us and just kept going and pushed us to do better each week.
So a team that definitely improved as the year progressed. We should mention one other thing too. Last week, we named Mr. Ben Grimes here our Action Jackson Plumbing Athlete of the Week for his 91-yard interception return
That's
against
right.
Jackson, right?
91, not 89. You're right.
We called it an 89. It was a 91. So Action Jackson Plumbing against Jackson High School, I might add. So add that to your collection along with your Rochester Rockets
For sure.
shirt from his days back in Illinois.
Yeah, for sure.
So Ben, can't say that it was all a loss this year. You get a T-shirt out of it. And being in Edmonds, Washington, not such a bad thing, right?
No, for sure. I was a little skeptical when I moved in, but the community is great. The way that these guys have embraced me, the school, everything, it's awesome. So I think that's a true testament to this community and just the parents and everybody raising their kids right. And, it's just great. But, yeah.
He's got one more year left, and you guys are done. Jack, maybe a favorite moment from your time at Edmonds-Woodway?
I think my favorite moment, honestly, was from this year because our defense needed to get a touchdown. Gradwell each week said, defense has to score, defense has to score. And I think it was iconic that Ben in the last game gets that nice big long touchdown. And just running down the field, kind of looking around, I knew that it was it and that we had done what we wanted to and accomplished so much. And it was just a great moment for me personally.
Going out on a high note. Patrick, what about you?
Something that ended out not that great, but going into the fourth quarter of Marysville when we're down a touchdown and we run a middle screen to Marcus Dilworth, it was like fourth down and I throw it to him and I don't see him because that's just how the play works. You just kind of throw it there and he runs underneath and catches it. And I didn't see him and I throw him and once I see him catch it, I'm just like, go, please go, because it's like we have like 2 minutes left. Cap, the line is, if you haven't gotten Cap running again, and he just runs and I just see him run and just do, like the two players collide into each other and he just breaks free and it's like really amazing to watch and I was just standing there freaking out, so that was a good time.
Very good times. Some great memories for these two as they end their Edmonds-Woodway football careers, and hopefully the best is yet to come here for Mr. Ben Grimes. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Great job on ending out a very strong second half of your season, and best of luck to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It was great to hear from the players and learn John Gradwell's philosophy about the fact that even though it was his first losing season, that he really had a very positive outlook about the players, and they managed to come up with a lot of success toward the end.
Yeah, absolutely, and really life lessons to be learned there, and also for the younger guys like a Ben Grimes.
Yeah.
That's a team that's going to be back next year and looking to compete, and you can't give up on seasons like that. I think that only builds towards the future, and we see that in sports time after time. Seahawks are a good example of that. Even back in 2012, that team kind of built themselves up to where in 2013 they were able to make that Super Bowl push. So for those guys to cap off that season the way they did and to come together and win 4 of their last 6 games, great for the seniors, something they can take away with them positively, but more importantly for the underclassmen, something to build on for next year.
Yeah, it's always important to remember it's not always about winning, right? So we're going to wrap up the rest of the sports. We'll start with swimming.
Yeah, 3 of our sports concluded this past weekend, including swimming. The state championships took place down in Federal Way. Unfortunately, Edmonds School District schools only had one podium finish, and that was for Grace Morgan from Meadowdale. Grace took 10th place in the 500 freestyle, so congratulations to Grace. And again, congratulations to all the athletes who were competing at the state tournament. An accomplishment in itself. You still have to qualify to get there.
Yep. Okay. And let's see, soccer.
Soccer, a rough one,
Heartbreaker.
yes.
Oh my gosh.
Saturday, Edmonds-Woodway playing Gig Harbor in the state quarterfinal round. This is a loser-out game. Gig Harbor going into the match, I think 20-0 on the year. They'd scored 94 goals. They'd only given up 6. And what a matchup it was. Edmonds-Woodway had leads of 2-1 and also had a lead of 3-2 at one point. Ends 3-3 in regulation. Nobody scores in the overtime, so they go to a shootout where Gig Harbor comes away with a victory. So unfortunately, the Edmonds-Woodway Warriors coming oh so close to making the state semifinals this year. But nonetheless, a great season for them. They won a very tough Westco conference. And I also want to give a shout out to Kira Hicks, who scored 2 goals in the game on Saturday. For Kira's efforts, we're going to give her an Action Jackson Plumbing Player of the Week shirt. So Kira, congratulations. I know she's already got one from last year as well. So add to the collection there. And again, great job for the Warriors this season.
Yeah, congrats on a great season. All right, and the last final thing, Shock Baz volleyball.
Volleyball district tournament took place over the course of the last week. Linwood and Meadowdale were both in the consolation bracket, which meant they both needed 2 consecutive victories without a loss to qualify for the state tournament, and they just happened to get matched up against one another. Linwood defeating Meadowdale on Thursday 3-0. That ended Meadowdale's season. Linwood then turned around and had to face a very tough Stanwood team on Saturday for the final state playoff berth. And unfortunately for Linwood, Stanwood comes away with a 3-1 victory. So Linwood's season also ended. But again, nonetheless, strong showing for Meadowdale and Linwood, not only throughout the course of the season, but also at districts.
Yeah, okay. Well, and the final thing we're going to be talking about is cross country.
Yeah, we're going to go back to cross country. The state championships took place last week, but a group that we didn't have a chance to get in until now was the Mountlake Terrace boys, a team that took 4th in state at the 2A level, a team that saw one of their individual runners win the district championship the week prior, another one finish in 4th, and a team that saw 3 of their runners finish in the top 30 at the state championships. So we thought we'd bring in all 3 of those runners and talk about not only their experience over at the state championships at Pasco, but also throughout the course of the season. So here's the interview we had with Alex, Jaden, and Josh. The Mountlake Terrace Hawks boys cross country team took 4th place at state this year. That took place over in Pasco last weekend. And joining us right now, the top 3 runners, Jaden Lofrese, who is a senior. We've got Alex Williams, who's a junior, and Josh Beam, who is a junior. Gentlemen, first of all, congratulations on a 4th place finish.
Thank you.
We should mention Alex, 11th place overall. Josh, 24th. Jaden, 29th. 3 runners in the top 30 from the same school. Alex, quite the accomplishment for you guys.
Yeah, it was really great. We just worked this whole season to get up in that state title, and we were just really hoping to, because we didn't do a ton over the summer. We came in and our coach was just like, "This is going to take a huge feat," and we did it.
And Josh, what is it like when you go over to Pasco? Is it an opportunity to have a little fun, or is it more of a business trip? I mean, when you're at state, I know everybody prepares differently, but what was it like for this particular team and maybe you individually?
I think personally for me it's kind of like every other trip where you go out, you kind of have fun the first few days, and then a few hours up until bedtime the day of the race, you're usually getting into that mindset like, all right, we're gonna go do this, we're gonna go race, this is what we have to do. But up in because we had a day and a half up until then, so then we were just kind of hanging out, talking to each other, watching movies. So it was fun, and then it got into business.
And then you go out and take care of business, and you get 4th place.
Yeah.
Easy enough. Jaden, you're really to be commended. You took 9th place as an individual last year. I know you had high hopes and lofty expectations coming into this season, a little banged up at times, including the week leading up to the state championship. What exactly happened a couple days before the race?
Well, I rolled my ankle a couple days before the race, and then I just wasn't able to heal at the rate I wanted to in time for the race. so I didn't do as well as I hoped, but I ran a good race. So
And this is really a sport where being banged up is not a good thing. I mean, it's hard to, especially when it's your foot or your ankle when you're a cross-country runner. What went into the preparation? Taping up the foot, icing it? What was it?
I was like elevating my foot, icing it. I was putting KT tape on it. It was like, what was it called? Like sort of some medicines that I took, just trying to just keep the swelling down, just keep myself prepared, ready to run at state. So.
Well, Alex, did you think he would? I mean, you were there when it happened, right? You guys were out training.
Yeah.
Did you think you were going to see him at Pasco out on the course on Saturday?
Well,
or?
at first I thought he was overreacting. All I know is that I just heard Jaden yell. He was just like, ah! And I was already ahead of him at that point because we were just doing a warm-up lap. And I turned back and he's on the ground. And so I'm just like, oh. So I walked back and he's getting carried off. And I was like, oh, he'll be fine. It's just, Jaden, he's broke his ankle before and he's run fine. So Jaden will pull through.
And he, lo and behold, he was out there on Saturday. And
Yeah, he was.
you guys kind of needed that. Again, to finish fourth, it takes an accumulation of scores. Josh, what does that mean? Because I know a lot of times we do think of cross country as being an individual sport, but when you guys are able to get up on a podium as a team, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it really is to see all these young men go through coming in August when teams like Seahelm have been training since January for this. To see our guys go from August to November and being able to go from this scrappy group that I'm not sure how much faith coach had in us to going to this like almost elite group that coach is like, yeah, we got this, was really cool because it was this transformation process through the season of seeing kind of here's how we're going to now we're here. We're going, we got this, and then getting onto that podium and just seeing the joy in all these young men's faces after getting up on the podium, getting the trophy, and being just in the experience was really cool.
Well, and Jaden, for you, you're the only senior here. What was the expectation as a team going into the year? Did you think this was even a possibility after last season?
I knew if we were going to do that, we would have to work extremely hard, and it would have to be like some people in our team that would have to like step up a little bit, a lot more actually. But because of our coach and because of our training, we were able to obtain fourth place, and I think it's really, really well done, like from our team, like just overall, just how hard we worked.
And everybody has their own journey too, and you guys each have kind of your own unique story getting here to this season. Alex, you were somebody who competed last year. I think you took 17th at districts last season, 34th in state. This year comes around. We should mention, by the way, and we'll do this right now. Alex, 2 weeks ago, we gave him the Action Jackson Plumbing Player of the Week shirt because he was the district champion this year. So, Alex, I'm going to give that to you right now. To go from 17th one year in districts to first the next year, to go from 34th to 11th, it's pretty big jumps there. What was your year like? I mean, I've got to think this is kind of a glorious thing for you, right? It's
Yeah.
a nice ride.
Yeah, so, I mean, last year, I just remember thinking that Jaden was this, like, godlike runner. Like, I just remember thinking, man, if I could run like Jaden, I could do anything. And then this year, I think it was like the third meet we had, I beat him. And I just thought, oh, this is some fluke. This is never going to happen again. And then it just sort of happened more consistently. And so I had to get into my head, like, you can run faster than you think. And so I would listen to coach and I'd be like, hey, where should I go? Like, what part of the course do I have to hit at? And he goes, okay, you got to do second mile, you got to hit harder. Third mile, you got to run even faster. I know it's going to be hard, but you got to do it. I mean, looking at courses like at Wesco, when I PR'd, that's what I did. I hit the second mile hard and I hit the third mile harder. And I guess really it's all mental, because something that our assistant coach, Jim, says is it's all up here. Your legs, they're ready. They'll be ready whenever. You've done the training, but you just got to teach yourself that you can do it.
And Jaden, for you, when you were the top runner for Mountlake Terrace last year, all of a sudden here comes Alex. Does it kind of bring out the best in you too when you all of a sudden have another runner kind of pushing you? Does it make you go that much harder?
It really did, because like last year, Alex wasn't like super fast. Well, he didn't think he was that fast. Like I knew he was that fast. But then like I was seeing like he was pushing, then I was able to push with him, and then we were able to like build off of each other and just run a faster race and run faster times.
And it seems to have brought out the best in both of them. And then Josh, for you didn't even run last year. You were out. Talk a little bit about where you were last season and what your goals were coming into this year.
Last season, I guess the joke in the team was that I was the water boy for the team. So I was just kind of out there filling up ice baths. I was essentially the manager for the cross country team, and then going into this year, to start the year, because I was actually allowed to run, these guys can say I did a cartwheel because I was actually going to be able to go out and like run and work out and compete with these guys. And then to go from not running last year, seeing these two do really well, and then myself being up in the mix with them at state and districts, just being able to get on the podium and go all the way was really cool, going from nothing to almost everything.
And we should reiterate, you were the water boy because of an injury, correct? So it wasn't as though.
Yeah.
So, I mean, did you have any visions of going to state even coming in, or were you just hoping to stay healthy for that?
This year, especially with kind of those ghosts just kind of echoing in the back of my mind, it was kind of stay healthy and then go as far as I can. And then I got to districts and I realized, my back's been fine. I'm good the whole year. I can do this. And then we get through the race and I get up on the podium and qualify for state. And I think that was probably one of the highlights of my season, was being able to get from last year, where I was essentially benched, and then going all the way to this year.
So tell me a little bit about who some of the other runners are on this team. It's not just the three of you. Jaden, who are maybe some of the other guys we were watching when we were out there?
Our fourth runner, it was name's Ivan, and Ivan's like a really
That's Big Eye, right?
Big
yeah,
Eye.
big guy.
Big Eye. Okay. Ivan Moulton. Yeah.
Yep, Ivan Moulton. He has a weird way of talking to people. He's kind of that's an understatement, honestly. But he's a really funny guy, and he really brings out the best in everybody on the team, I want to say. And for fifth runners, Ty or Thomas.
Thomas and Ty are kind of together.
They
Yeah.
switch.
Yeah, they're really close to each other. And Ty would be the one to make the jokes and make everybody laugh and bring everybody's spirits up. And then Thomas was one of the most dedicated to the program, and I would say he improved most. I would say he did improve for a lot for the team, and he really helps push everyone else down. Hey, we're gonna go to state, and I'm gonna help everybody else get to state as well. And then Kai, yeah, well, I don't know.
That's Kai Hinch, who's a sophomore, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
We make fun of Kai.
yeah.
Because, Kai he runs, but he's got a lot of friends on the team, so he likes to run with his friends, and his friends aren't the top varsity runners, so he runs. A lot of times, we make fun of him for just sandbagging all the time.
He's a social runner.
Yeah, he's a social
Yeah.
runner.
Okay.
And then he will have these huge breakouts during races, and we'll all be like, "Oh, come on, dude! If you could at least
Yeah.
run during practice, you'd do so much better." But he's definitely he's a great runner, and we're looking forward that he's a sophomore and that he's not leaving us.
Well, that's the thing, too, right? I mean, Ivan's a senior, Jaden's a senior. A lot of youth on this team, right, guys? I mean, Josh, this is something you guys could build on for next year.
It definitely is something we can build on, because we know in the varsity we're only losing, I think it's 3 of them, which, it's sad to see the top guys go, but it's going to happen. You got to figure out how to get through it. So we've actually got a host of other guys that are ready to step in and keep going, provided that they're willing to put in the work.
And if now we just get Kai's friends to run a little faster, we can even improve those scores even more. You guys got a new coach this year,
He did.
Joel Pearson. What did that mean to the program? Alex, what does a cross-country coach mean to a team anyway? I mean, in terms of preparation, in terms of working on techniques, what was Joel's biggest role on this team?
So for Joel, he was definitely a motivation during the runs, and so during races, I know I was always looking for him because he kind of blends in with the crowd, I guess. Since I was so used to having the other 2 coaches that I had for 2 years, I would sometimes lose him and start looking for the other coaches that I had. But he would always be there yelling you can do this, you got to go now, because he tells us throughout the week what we need to do for this race, and then he tells us again during the race we already know what to do. And so he's a mental boost, and then he always has a workout ready for us. He's got the science behind it to back it up. So we upped our mileage a lot this year, whereas the other 2 years, we have this course called the Chips, and there are 2-mile loops about, and we would run, I think the most we ever ran was 4, and I think the least we ran this year was 4, so we were getting up to 8 laps, and it was something. But so it was definitely a new way. He came in and he just brought out the best runners in us, I guess.
And Josh, it sounds like you brought a lot of structure to the program.
He definitely did, because he went kind of from this coaching style that was week by week, whereas he's kind of got a month in advance all planned out, and he's got, like Alex said, the science behind it on why we're doing this. Because there have been runners that come in, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? And I'll give them, here's what we're doing, and here's exactly why we're going to do it. And he's like brought kind of this form and structure to here's how Mountlake Terrace cross country is going to be during practice, during races, during workouts. Just as a program, here's how we're going to be, and we're going to be a family, and we're going to work in this way to get where we want to be.
And the formula seems to have worked. 4th place again. And Jaden, I'll finally end with you here. Senior year of high school, running something that you see into your future, or what's next for you?
I'd probably see running in my college years. I think running can really just build up a lot of bonds. So I want to be introduced to a lot of other people who also run, because I think that'll be really cool. But so yeah, I'm probably gonna run in college and hopefully keep on running for the rest of my life.
So college runner perhaps next year. Mountlake Terrace seniors in 2019, and we'll see if these guys can even build on what they did this year in what was a fantastic season. Jaden, Alex, Josh, thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you.
And best of luck to you in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
4th place finish, that's incredible.
Outstanding job for them.
Yeah, really great.
And for a team that really, I don't think had that kind of an expectation
Yeah.
coming into the year, it definitely took the likes of Alex and somebody like Josh to step up and to kind of up their game a little bit and to get where they ended up ultimately finishing. It was an outstanding year for them.
Yeah, it really was. Okay. Well, we are done with fall and tryouts this week, right?
Yeah, our winter tryout sports starts Veterans Day on Monday. And we've got basketball for boys and girls, wrestling for boys and girls, boys swimming, girls cheer. So a lot to be covering and to be talking about over the next few months.
That's right, and we'll have it all here. And one more reminder for that fundraiser at Red Onion Burgers this Friday, November 16th, all day from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. And Steve will be there for part of the day anyway. And best wishes on your voice improving.
I'm hoping this sounds much better next week when we do our next show.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.
Take care.